Welcome, Mr. Johnson. This is Who Are You? How are you feeling today?
Feeling great.
Okay, let's just get right into the first question. What do you think is the most misunderstood or misinterpreted thing about teachers, in your opinion?
I guess it depends on the audience. I think students sometimes don't realize how hard it is. Teaching is a very challenging profession. You really pour your heart into it. It takes over your life. I mean, it's really hard to separate your teacher personality with your own. And that has some effects. I mean, obviously, like when I go home, I try not to keep being a teacher, but it's hard. It's something you build up 6-7 hours a day for multiple years. And so
Kind of morphs into one personality.
yeah, it definitely does. And the people that are around you in your life definitely know you're a teacher.
Yeah.
It's just it is definitely a sacrifice in a lot of ways to your own personal life. And I don't mean that in a bad way by any means, but you just, a lot of times students don't realize how demanding it is and how challenging it is. I think as far as the public is concerned, it's tricky because like summer's off, getting out at 3:10, just they don't see like all the behind the scenes, all the Saturdays grading papers, all the late nights lesson planning. If you coach, if you're in a club, I mean, there's so many other things that teachers do, but it kind of...
People see the surface level of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
The next question is, there's a lot of people at the school that would consider you more of the modern teachers. Do you think that's true?
I'm one of the more experienced teachers at the school, so I'm happy to hear that. I definitely strive to keep up with current education pedagogy, which is hard because it means I have to keep changing every year, and I can't really fall back on ways that I learned how to teach or ways that I learned how to experience math. But it makes the job more fun. I think students learn more, and I think it's, as long as I'm doing this, I want to keep adjusting with the times. You have to meet students with what they need, and that's not how I learned math. That's not how I was taught how to teach math long time ago. And so, if I don't, I got to move on, do
But
something
I think
else.
students see that you're like trying to improve for the better, because I know you even told our class how versus our freshman year, you have a different style of teaching, and you think you're kind of jumping into it in a different way that's better for the students. So I think you're doing a pretty good job at that. Like, don't put too much pressure on yourself.
I think it's important that teachers put pressure on themselves, though.
Yeah.
I think the job can definitely be taken for granted over time, and it's important that you're changing and adapting and doing your best for the current students that you're teaching. And currently this year, that's juniors and seniors, and that's much different than teaching freshmen. And that adjustment had to be made, had to be thought about, had to be reflected on, and and then continuously adjusted literally every week based on what I'm seeing.
What do you think separates you from other teachers?
I don't think that much at Ogden. I think at Ogden we all kind of have this understanding of putting the students first, figuring out what they need. That's why I love it here. I think there's definitely a dynamic of just helpfulness and powerfulness in student-centered instruction. As far as if there's anything that makes me different, it's probably that I still am very kid-like myself in a lot of ways. I really enjoy gaming. I enjoy talking on Discord.
Technology, keeping up with the times.
Totally. And so that definitely has kind of given me more things to relate to students and allow connections to be formed.
what do you feel your biggest connections to technology are? Because I know you're talking about NFTs. How'd you get into that?
Well, the pandemic, sitting at home for, I don't know, 3 months straight, except for some walks with the dogs. And then just meeting people through Twitter, through just different internet apps, and kind of realizing there's other things to do, right? Besides watch YouTube, watch TV. I really struggle with that. I really don't enjoy sitting around watching other people do things. And I knew I was getting kind of not as sharp doing that. And so I wanted to kind of start to engage in something, start being active in something, but it was really hard. And so from home, I found the ability to kind of engage with other people and think about ideas and just continue to see what was new and what was out there.
Do you think you found your own online community?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been really fortunate to meet some incredible people who, have taken me into their Discord from all over the world. I mean, to talk with people from Australia every day, to talk with people from Bhutan, to talk with people from South Africa, like on a daily basis. It kind of, the technology kind of transcends what's all going on in our daily lives, and it kind of connects us. And that was something that I had experienced a long time ago with a mobile game, Clash of Clans, where I met Scottish people and Filipino and just an incredibly diverse worldwide group that, we're all in different time zones, but we all really enjoyed the game and could talk about it. So it really reminded me of that. And I guess that's just something I've always looked for. And that's why I really enjoy it.
What do you think are the qualities of a great teacher?
You gotta love it. You just wake up and no matter what else is going on, it's not a sense of dread. It's not a sense of I have to go to work. Some days are tougher than others. There's no doubt about it. And some days you have a full schedule, but you get up and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. Like, this is, what I'm going to put my heart and soul in today, and then I'll figure out the other things that are going on in my life as I can. I speak to that from a position of not having children, which is, I know, probably going to be a game changer. Not probably, definitely will be a game changer. But for now, my students are like my children, except I give them away every year. And it's what I focus on for those 9 months.
So like having a passion, kind of, or putting passion into your teaching.
Yeah, definitely. And just wanting to be good at it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's something that's important that everybody learns over the course of their life, is to work hard at something to be good at it. And it doesn't have to be your work. Like, for me it is, but for a lot of other people, it can be something that they do off, after work, after school. There's just so many ways to, have a passion. It just so happens that teaching is, one of mine.
Talking about teaching, I know you didn't originally think you were going to be a math teacher in
Right.
college. So tell us more about that, because what were you originally going for in college?
Sure. So I had an incredible 8th grade history teacher who had us live through history, which, looking back on it, was living through white history, but I didn't really understand that at the time. And so I got to experience the stock market crash. I got to experience, this whole, essentially America from 1776 through, you never really get past World War II in history classes, right? But essentially up to that point. And I just thought that was so neat how he would put us in these places where we could think about the issues that were going on and make our own decisions about what we wanted to do. And it inspired me to be a history teacher. And then, so I went to Michigan State, was a history major, but they also asked you to have a minor. So I was pretty good at math through most of my high school career. And so I thought, well, I could maybe swing a math minor. Let me try it. And I took some math courses, and it taught me I had to work harder, but that was something that I think I needed as well. And so I ended up getting the math minor. Come interview day. There was a big interview job fair at the United Center, and drove over from Michigan and put on my suit and walked in, and nobody needed a history teacher.
Oh.
There were lots of history teachers there. There were not many math teachers there. And so I had a couple of job offers, and I went to some more interviews and got hired as a math teacher at 22 in Chicago Public Schools. I wasn't very good at it.
Oh.
Shocking, right?
Teaching or math?
Both.
Oh.
Teaching was hard. I mean, and teaching is challenging. And I think one of the most important things I learned was, like, I need to work harder at this. I need more training in this. And that's one of the most important things that teachers can kind of take away, is just being honest with yourself. And so I was very honest with myself of, this was a really hard job. I was not like fully ready to be on my own probably. And so had to go back. I went back and got my started master's classes within like 2 years, and started taking master's classes online through Michigan State, reading a lot of books about just how to engage students more, how to make it more student-centered, essentially changing everything that I knew about teaching and that I had experienced in teaching. And then I went through national board certification within 5 years. And so that was a lot of work. 3 hours at the library for about 4 months straight, watching so I'd videotape my teaching, and then watch it back and realize all the mistakes that I was seeing. But that's okay. It's a really powerful practice. Yeah. And through all that, math got better.
Grew on you?
Yeah, well, I mean, just figuring out a way to put students in a place to figure things out, more so than me being the gatekeeper to the knowledge, right? If you instead put students into a puzzle where they can do the math, they can try some things, maybe right, maybe not, maybe a different way than we've ever seen before. All those things like build learning ability. And at the end of the day, that's really what school's about. I'm not terribly concerned if students can do the specific skill that we're working on that day, but if students can learn to love learning and like enjoy school, that's going to be a really powerful practice for them to take away.
Because I know you said you want students to kind of not learn on their own, but like figure out their own way. You don't want them to be following you. You want them to find like their own way of learning that's comfortable for them.
Definitely. I think that's essentially going to open every other door in your life. Is no one's going to say, hey, go do this. You're going to have to feel it out. You're going to have to try something that you haven't done before. And essentially that's what my goal is every day in class, is put students in a position to try something new in a supported manner, and we'll see what happens.
I know you mentioned being a security guard. And I know this is another question. I know you met your wife there too. So how'd you even get that security guard position?
Well, I used to work at Wrigley Field. I was a security guard. We used to wear white shirts back then. I don't know if they've changed that. But essentially, when I moved to Chicago, I moved into a house with 4 other guys. So the 5 of us had a house. It was 1 block from Wrigley Field.
Convenient.
And yeah, it was great. It was cheap and had a lot of space, and we were all bachelors, and it was a lot of fun. It was a fun house to be in. And so I was like, all right, I live a block from Wrigley Field, and I needed a summer job. One of the teachers at my school, my old school, was a supervisor at Wrigley for security. And so she was like, hey, if you're looking for a summer job, we need security guards. We hire them every year. Teachers are great candidates. You have to work, I think it was 60 out of the 81 games, which is kind of a stretch, but she's like, yeah, if you want to try, I can get you an interview. So she got me an interview, and I show up. It's a group interview.
What do they even ask in the interview? First,
I essentially realized I just needed to be quiet because I said 2 responses, and then it was very obvious that I just needed to kind of step back and let them ask questions of other people and try to figure out who everybody was, because they already kind of knew who I was. The teacher had already talked to them about me, like, he's a teacher, college degree. That was way overqualified for the position. And I wore a suit, which no one else did. So I looked... You
made yourself stand out.
I did. And I would encourage all of you, when you interview, right, put your best face forward, dress up nicely. Looking back on it, I probably could have gone with a sweater or something, but
it's better to be overdressed than underdressed.
Yeah.
My mom always says that.
And she's right. I did feel awkward at the time, but I think at the end of the day, I got the job and started to work security. I started in the bleachers. If you've been to a game at Wrigley Field, there's security guards that are at the very bottom of the bleachers that stare up at the crowd. And so for 5 hours every game day, that was my job. Baking in the sun.
Lots of drama?
Not too much. I learned a lot of good classroom management habits from working with obnoxious Cubs fans.
What is classroom
So classroom management, like if a student is acting out or usually a student is trying to get attention when something like that's happening. And there's a lot of times that's what fans are doing, right? They want a player's attention. They want somebody else in the crowd's attention. And so just a matter of like talking to people and kind of convincing them to sit down and watch the game. And so
alcohol mixed in, it's a little hard.
Well, yeah, they had alcohol mixed in. I had the advantage because I was sober. So it was easy to kind of negotiate with someone when you have the power of the mind over them. and it really helped me learn to stop yelling, because that was definitely a big part of, like, teaching at first was I can be louder than you. There were so many mistakes that I made as a young teacher that, I just learned, like, that doesn't work. Like, that's not how you get somebody to change their behavior, right? And so working at Wrigley was great. I did it for 3 seasons. They went to the playoffs 2 of those years. It was a lot of fun. I got promoted to field guard, which means I got to sit on the field with the players, listen to their stories. Incredible job. Only paid $8.50 an hour. Oh. It was not for the money, but
it was a fun experience, and I know. Yeah. I mean, you met your wife there, so.
Yep. There you go. Sorry, we'll work our way around there. So yeah, she worked there as well, and so it was her final season working and my first season working. So we kind of overlapped just that 1 year, but saw her and said hi. Made the first move. And I would encourage everybody, if you are interested in somebody, to talk to them. It's a lot easier to talk to them, and maybe it doesn't go your way, but the more you do it and the more comfortable you get at it, the easier it is over time. And so luckily it went my way, and yeah, it's been a great run.
Listen to Mr. Johnson, because he's the one who has a wife, guys. Let's see. If you could change one thing about the school system, what would it be?
I'd mix people up a lot more. I think people need to be around different races, different sexualities, different. I'm blanking on the term, but wealthy, socioeconomic. I think people need to be just spending time around people who are different than them as much as possible at a younger age. And schooling is not set up like that. No. It is, and I think it's causing a lot of division in this country. I think if people met people who were different than them at a younger age and were around them and listened to them and realized how much they have in common, it would be a much different better. United States.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, much better. I mean, I can't see I don't think anybody looks at the last 5 years of the United States history and says, we're doing a great job. I think we're sowing more and more division in this country every day, and it's a part because of the educational system.
True. Not like people don't get those learning experience. They don't know how to interact with different types of people, so when they don't know how to interact, it's just a bad situation. Okay. Let's see. What made you want to move to Michigan? Sure. From Michigan to Chicago?
I had a really fun weekend visiting some friends when I was wrapping up my student teaching, and I was kind of considering Baltimore and doing like a master's program at Johns Hopkins or Vegas. Las Vegas was very popular back then. It was expanding rapidly, and so there was definitely some thought about, I remember the Andre Agassi Academy or something like that, and I was like, oh yeah, I could go work there.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not, but I love urban education, so I really like to work in a city. I really like to help all levels of students. That's one of the things that I really want for Ogden, is that no matter how you got here as a freshman, I want you to be able to take diploma program classes. And I want you to see a pathway where you can work hard and accomplish whatever you want at this school. And that's going to take time. I think we have some work to do there. I'm trying to implement different things in the math department to help people get there. But that's always been my passion, is inner city teaching and helping everybody.
So like, did you grow up in a small town? Is that why you wanted to get out more in the city?
I don't know. I grew up in, I know where I grew up, sorry. But I don't know where this came from, honestly. It maybe my mom instilled this in me. I'm not sure, but she was from inner city Baltimore.
Oh.
So I think her stories over the years of like how she grew up and what she experienced, just very poor and not a lot of opportunities for education, and it just kind of has always resonated with me. So I guess, to help people who need it.
Make that change.
Yeah. And so, but no, I grew up in a suburban township of a rapidly fading city in Michigan, Saginaw, where most of the auto plants have moved out. There's not a lot of manufacturing there anymore, which was something that really buoyed the city and the state while I was growing up. And I was fortunate. I got a very good education. I had AP classes I could take, sports I could play. Like, we weren't wealthy by any means, but we didn't have to worry about where the next meal was going to come from. And I think that was really fortunate and really privileged when I look back on it. Didn't realize it at the time, but that kind of put me in a place where I could just focus on helping others.
That's good. Wow, okay, peacemaker. Last question, let's see. What's the biggest change you see from your high school experience to now?
In terms of the students' high school experience?
I'm going to take it as personal, like high school you versus you now.
Oh my gosh. High school me, oof. Boy, that was rough. Well, with a name like Earl, you can fill in the rest. So, kind of nice to not be being made fun of anymore. And if students are, I've kind of learned to just be okay with who I am, which I think in high school I definitely struggled with. And I think that's a pretty natural high school feeling, is to compare yourself to others, to just
feel down about yourself.
Yeah, we're all so different, and you do not need to fit this cookie cutter model that you see on, now it's social media, but back then it was TV and movies, or the cool kids at school, and just to be me. And I'm proud of who I am, and I'm happy with who I am, and that is not something I felt in high school. And if you are feeling like you're not fitting in with other people, or you're not like them, that's okay. I really want people to understand that we're all supposed to be different. We're all supposed to have different interests, and just because you're friends or somebody else likes something doesn't mean you necessarily have to. And just do your own thing, and do it respectfully, right? There's you don't need to try to push it on people, but you can be who you are.
Like self-acceptance.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's talked about a lot more than it was back then. We
Yeah.
really did not discuss these kind of things back then. You felt it inside, and you listened to Linkin Park instead, and it was just how you felt, and it was really tough. Maybe it was just my experience, but I didn't feel like I had anybody to talk to about how I felt about myself. And so I like it. We've definitely changed a lot for the better, talking about mental health, talking about just being okay with who you are. Not just okay, celebrate it. Like, be
Nice,
proud
yeah,
of
on
it.
social media everywhere. People
Yeah.
are way different than you.
And that's the thing. I still feel that a lot of times when I look at social media, because I don't feel like on social media where I am myself, that I can be myself. I'm still not at that point with social media where I can just, whatever.
Yeah.
This is it. Just because I don't feel like everybody else is. Like, it's so curated and like the best picture, and let's take 20 takes before we upload it. And I don't like that. Like, I'm out here every day in front of people, and sometimes I make mistakes, and when I do, I apologize for it. I'm sorry, I learned. Or I need to change my thinking on that and grow. But for the most part, I'm just trying to be me.
Good for you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Claps for Mr. Johnson.
Claps.
But that's also a wrap on our interview.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being patient.
No problem.
And I hope you enjoyed this, got to see what goes on in journalism.
This is very nice. Well done.
Bye, guys.